Welcome to America's #1 Cincinnati-based museum podcast, Meanwhile at the Museum, where we take you behind the scenes of Cincinnati Museum Center and beyond. Over on the ones and twos, we have our producer, Magic Mitch.
Hey.
I'm Cody Hefner, and we are joined today by Lieutenant Commander Dr. Monica Borza.
Yes, that is correct. Hello.
Is it in that order? Does doctor go first?
That works perfectly.
Mitch can confirm, but you may have the most amazing title we've had on the podcast.
I'd have to say, yeah.
Wow, that's very kind. So I'm very glad to be here.
So you are in the Navy. You are also do you call it a Blue Angel alumni? Are you still with the Blue Angels?
I was previously with the Blue Angels from 2021 and 2022 for those show seasons. And now I have moved on, still a physician in the military, and I am stationed in San Diego, California currently.
So how long have you been in the Navy? And have you always been in the Navy?
Well, that's a great question. No, I grew up in Virginia Beach, Virginia. My father is a former Navy flight officer, so I was very aware of the military as I was growing up, and we would always have jets flying overhead, and every year we would go see the Blue Angels perform in the summertime. And so that was something that inspired me, seeing those 6 massive blue jets just roar over your head as a little kid. Who doesn't get inspired by that? And I knew I wanted to be a part of something that big, that great one day. And so I applied to join the military after I was accepted to medical school. And they fortunately gave me the honor of a scholarship to go through medical school. And after I completed medical school, I went then to San Diego, where I'm currently, and did my internship out here, and then was selected to go through flight school training to become a Navy flight surgeon. I did that for a few years out in the fleet, and then was given the greatest honor to be a Blue Angel.
So you were the flight surgeon for the Blue Angels crew, only the 4th woman to hold that title, correct?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Should we address you Lieutenant Commander Borza, Dr. Borza?
Lieutenant Commander is perfect.
Can we use your call sign?
Doc. Yes, that's perfectly fine.
Do you get to pick your call sign? How does that work?
No, you absolutely do not get to pick your call sign. So it's something that is a very endearing process that every squadron and team kind of create together.
So your background was in medicine. What was it like to transition to working as part of a flight crew?
That is a phenomenal question because going through flight school, I never imagined myself sitting in an F-18 and understanding, the whole aeromedical nuances that go into flight training and what it is to be a flight surgeon. That term was almost foreign to me, honestly, when I was going through medical school. But in the military, in the Navy specifically, when you're chosen to go through flight training as the physician, to be a physician for pilots and the air crew and the ground crew, they send you through actual flight school. So I sat in the classroom with all the other Navy, Marine Corps aviators from day one, the first day of their training, and went through all the exact same exams, physical requirements, and you get to go through the entire basic training profile, and you even get a little bit of flight time in flight school, which is wonderful. So you really get to see what these pilots and aircrew are going through from day one, what physical and mental requirements and kind of stressors that are put on their body, so you can better understand how to treat them if there is an issue.
Because you've experienced it all firsthand by that point. Part of the training is the G-force simulator. Is that the centrifuge? Is that what that is?
Yes.
Did you climb inside that? Did you have to go through that as well?
Luckily, as I was going through flight school training, I did not have to go through that. But to be a part of the Blue Angels, that is definitely something that everyone has to go through who's going to get in those jets.
What is the conditioning like? I mean, what role do you play in the conditioning for that? Because you think because they're highly trained, they're these incredible jets that they kind of fly themselves, but not the case at all. So what's the conditioning like for that?
A great question. It takes a lot of conditioning, not only physically, but also mentally. I would say a lot of our fighter pilots, they go through centrifuge training prior to becoming a Blue Angel because that is standard risk mitigation, life-saving, elements you need to know when you're flying a jet. So they learn how to do the anti-G-force strain maneuver to prevent G-lock, which is G-force induced loss of consciousness. So we have a phenomenal centrifuge team in San Antonio, Texas, who trains every Navy Marine Corps aviator that comes through and teaches them the exact thing they need to know and how to do that maneuver specifically before they get into the jet and start pulling those higher Gs. And it uses your whole body. You need to use, your lower leg muscles to your glutes, to your abs, and then breath work. And it's a coordinated movement that doesn't come easily. So it does take practice. And the Navy is great about making sure that every aviator is confident and ready to go and can do it successfully before they get out into the jet. So it's a whole body movement to answer your question.
I've realized we've jumped straight out and we've just gone straight into the Blue Angels.
Yeah.
Can you explain what the Blue Angels are for anyone who may be unfamiliar?
Yeah, the Blue Angels. So we are a Navy flight demonstration squadron where we go around the nation and internationally to showcase the pride and teamwork of the military through these very dynamic flight maneuvers that we perform for everyone.
How large is the entire Blue Angels crew? Because people see the jets and they count the 6 jets and they think that's it, that's the Blue Angels. But how large is the crew?
We have a great crew, great team. We have the 6 positions in the demonstration. And then we also have 7 and 8 who are pilots and an NFO who do a lot of our narration and show coordination. We have an executive officer who does a lot of our administration and making sure that we are still functioning as a military Navy squadron. And we have a lot of support officers, up to 16 to 17 some years, who you don't kind of see all the time, that are in the background, like our supply officer, our maintenance officer, our public affairs officer. And then we have a great team of enlisted personnel, around 130 so personnel at a time, give or take, that everyone is grinding to make sure that we are doing the best we can so we can show up for you all.
The show season is 8 months. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how many shows are you doing in that span?
A good number. We travel, yes, we travel to around 30 some cities every year. Right now, currently, the current team is in El Centro, California training, and that is around a 3-month training, 2.5, 3 month training period, just depending on the year. And that is when we will just grind it out, and you are flying multiple times a day. You're up before the sun is up, you go to bed after the sun is down, and you're just constantly just working on your craft and becoming the best Blue Angel you can be. And after that, in mid-March, we do our first air show out in El Centro. And that's an exciting one because it's the first time, you're in that blue suit in front of a large crowd, which is something, it's not a normal day typically. So that's an incredible experience, that you have that kind of little sacred place in the desert to have your first air show and Blue Angel experience. And then after that, we hit the road, and every weekend is almost a new city where we are performing at the air shows. We do have a few times off. So I will say the Navy has definitely made sure that we are risk mitigated and we get our rest and our crew rest and our time with our families. So every few weeks we will have, mandatory, hey, you guys stay at home in Pensacola, enjoy your family time, then rest up, let's get back to work.
Being in the air that long, you talked about G-lock and just fighting the G-force, being a full body effort, breath work, which is a lot of mental capacity as well. What is the toll on the body? Because it's like riding a 20-ton bull multiple times a day through training and then through the shows. What's the toll on the body? What's the recovery like for that?
It is a full body workout for sure when the pilots are in the jet and doing the demonstration. The recovery is like almost every other workout recovery. You have to get good sleep. You have to be hydrated. You have to be eating properly. If you're not doing those things, you're not going to make it. So it's definitely one that we have looked at closely. And that was one of my big initiatives when I was on the team as the doc, was trying to create this really well-rounded human performance program for the pilots and making sure that they had everything they needed so that the next day when they get in the jet, they're ready to go.
Like, are there ice baths involved? Are they like hitting the hot tub? Because you see athletes. We're just coming off the Super Bowl, and so inevitably they're
Yeah.
sitting at their locker, they're wrapped up in ice and stuff like that. Are these crews? Are they like wrapping themselves in ice? Or they're just so
If we
conditioned
could
for
figure
this?
out how to travel with ice baths to every city, that would be wonderful. But we do have access to gyms in every city that we go to. And some of them, yes, do have more recovery stations than others. But I wish we could travel with ice baths. But no, it's a lot of understanding your body. And we train to it. We don't get out there from day one and do the entire demonstration from start to finish. These pilots and our team trains to every little piece of every maneuver that gradually builds over time. So that way, not only can they, comprehend and mentally do the maneuvers, physically they gain the strength to do the maneuvers.
As you're on the ground, as they're training, as they're in the air, what are you looking for? What are you paying attention to in those moments?
Yeah, phenomenal question. So, as the doc on the team, I also had the honor to be the safety officer, and that's just how the team has been set up. Because the doc goes on the road with the pilots to every air show, whereas some of our more support officers and ground crew will be changed in and out. That way, they can get good rest periods at home, and we still have a crew at home to help us in the event that we need something last minute or overnight. If say like a part breaks down. That being said, the doc then had to learn a lot about aviation and just the whole aerospace mechanics behind flying and what these pilots are going through, because I have to look at various different patterns of like the wings, the configurations of the wheels, the hook, airspeeds, altitudes, and I had to be intimately familiar with every position on the team and where they were supposed to be in any second of the entire demo. So that way I could call out to any of them if any of them were not in the right place or looked unsafe. So that was really my role, was being the safety officer on the ground while they were flying.
Can you spot those details? Can you look at the formation and say, "Oh, two's off a little bit," or four's a little behind?
Yes. But that comes with a lot of training. I just hours and hours and hours of watching this demonstration and giving them feedback real time. When we're training in El Centro during those months of just grinding and flying multiple times a day, I give them direct feedback as they're flying. And I tell them who was maybe a little too low, who was a little too far out. And that way they can change it for the next time when they come around to practice it again.
What's the dynamic of the team like? Because these are the best of the best, right? And in this
Yeah.
unit, uh, is there ego? How do they take feedback from each other, and how are they? Is everyone kind of ribbing each other a little bit, but pulling together? What's the feedback loop like for that?
So, human nature, you would think if someone keeps telling you how bad you are every day and that you're out of position, you're going to hate them. But you end up not hating each other. You understand you're all there for, a bigger goal. And it's not personal. So you really learn that from day one, because during our debriefs, everybody in that room states what they did wrong, even down to, our supply officers, to our public affair officers, to our bird crew. Everybody says something that they may have done wrong and can do better the next time. It's not just 1 through 6 up in the air. So we have that mentality as a team that it's okay to make a mistake, realize it, learn from it, move on.
This is maybe going to be a personal question.
Okay.
A lot of in films and stuff, they always, you know, when they take pilots up and they're training them, that you've always got the the seasoned pilot that's jerking people around and putting them through the ringer. Inevitably, someone always throws up. Are you seeing people throw up when they're in the centrifuge, or when they're going through some of this training? And is that kind of like a cone of silence? Hey, we don't talk about what just happened in there. I would throw up for sure.
I will say our aviators and air crew are very familiar with
Right.
these G forces and different maneuvers, but when we do have a guest rider, sometimes it gets a little dirty back there. Yeah.
For those who haven't seen the film, or have yet to see the film, one of the things that's really outstanding, really stands out, is the Blue Angels are rock stars. They, if you're wearing that uniform, people are just in awe of your presence. And so there is this sort of superhero status, especially for the 6 pilots, but the camaraderie with the crew and everyone who it takes to pull these shows together and to make this possible. There's such a unity and an appreciation that comes through in this film that I thought was just so charming and like so uplifting.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that feedback, and it was very special to be able to showcase that to the public because that is something that has not been shown before of our day in and day out and how we interact and how we get the mission done. And it's an absolutely massive team effort. It's not just one person, and it's not that individual name or how great of a pilot they are. And it's more so of, hey, I can't do my job unless you're here showing up and doing your job all together. So we are very fortunate, very honored, and I'm glad you're able to take that away.
So, what was it like for you filming this movie, being part of an IMAX film? I know that they had to use a lot of interesting filming techniques to get these incredible aerial shots of the planes doing their maneuvers.
Yeah, it is definitely interesting from the ground aspect as the safety officer, because we have never had another aircraft, civilian aircraft for sure, integrated within our demonstration where they were approved to fly around. So the Navy worked very closely with IMAX and briefed them ahead of time of each maneuver in depth and where the jets would be during every single maneuver. But yes, this was the very first time that the Navy approved a civilian aircraft to fly with the Blue Angels. And IMAX worked very closely with the Navy so that way we were safe as they were flying in the helicopter around us to make sure that there was not going to be any issues. And if there were any issues, we had our whole team on the ground to be able to recognize it and say, knock it off, knock it off. So there was a lot that went into allowing a civilian aircraft up close in our demonstration, but we approached it in a very safe manner and we're successful, thankfully.
With the film crew around you, did it take a little getting used to? Did you, like the first few days they're around you, do you clam up a little bit, and then at what point do they just kind of fade out and you don't even realize they're there?
I will say the very first time they came into the room with their big cameras for the debrief, and it is a very small ready room in El Centro. So it's very crowded, and you can't now see across the room from you because there's a massive camera there. So we definitely recognized it. It was a little awkward, I'll be honest. But I will say, once we got focused into the debrief and started watching the maneuvers and seeing what we could do better next time, you forget they're there.
What's the selection process like for you to be part of the Blue Angels?
Everyone who is selected to the Blue Angels does go through a very rigorous selection process and interview process where you get to know the current team over various months. And there's a lot of kind of, looking into your background into the military and what have you done successfully, what you might not have done successfully. That way they can fully understand who you are to see if you'd be a good fit for the team. So everyone goes through the exact same process no matter what position you are.
As the flight surgeon, I have to ask, so many of the guys are chewing gum while they're flying. How with everything you're
You picked up on that.
Yes. Are you like, come on, guys, what are we doing here?
Well, it definitely, I will just say the pilots have, that is a non-negotiable for the pilots. So even though Doc may say, hey, that's not maybe the best idea, they have other reasons for it. So it helps a little bit with, equalizing pressures and whatnot while they're flying. So, can't hate on them too much.
It's interesting to watch because every pilot, every person that's part of the Blue Angels has so much experience. They're so accomplished before they even get to this point, and now they're kind of, you're a rookie again. You're a newbie coming into this. So you have that on the one hand, but also you come with all of your own, not necessarily superstitions, but routines and the way you do things, and how you approach different things. So, what with the crew churning out you replace a third of the crew every year, right?
Yes, sir.
How quick do teams gel? Is there any pressure to say we've got 2.5 months to get this right, and it is just crunch time the whole time?
Oh, that's a great observation. Because we are working closely from, dawn to dusk, we get to know each other very well. We live in the same kind of campus on base in El Centro. We work in the same buildings as everyone in El Centro, besides, the Comcart ground crew where we're out kind of in the desert about 30 minutes away. But we come back home, and we debrief together at the very end of the day. And then you eat together, you eat dinner together, you go work out together. On your one day off on Sunday, you do your laundry together. So you get to know each other incredibly well. And then halfway through that winter training evolution, we do get a weekend where we will either come home to Pensacola and spend that with our families, kind of as like a nice halfway break. And you earn that, or, you could stay in El Centro if you want, if you want to just get a little more punishment. But no, it is nice that they do build in a little bit of rest time. That way you're recharged and ready to go for the second half.
Do you have a favorite city that you got to travel to, or
Oh,
was there a city that you're like, I've always wanted to visit here, and you're fortunate to do so as part of the tour?
I felt incredibly fortunate to visit a lot of phenomenal cities around our country. And I will say one of the ones that sticks out was actually Dayton, Ohio, which I know is up the road
Yeah.
from you all. Yeah, but I had a really great time there where I had a few friends and family come out to the show and so welcoming. And then the chocolate peanut butter balls that
The Buckeyes.
we got were amazing. Buckeyes, yes, those were amazing. So I had a great time when I was in Ohio. But I will be honest, my ultimate favorite show was probably my hometown show in Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
And coming home in a blue suit to my friends and family, who we grew up watching the Blue Angels at that same airfield. That was a very special, special feeling.
Oh, I can imagine. That'd be incredible. In Dayton, were you showing the Air Force pilots how to fly? Is that what
Yeah,
is that what you're
exactly.
getting at here? We should have
Yeah, it was good.
prefaced that question with we're really trying to jack our listeners in Delaware. So any shout outs to maybe
Oh,
Dover, Delaware? No, just kidding.
yeah, that was a good one. No.
Um, what is going on in the body when they're up there, when they're pulling those? Like what's happening to your blood pressure and like, the blood flow and everything like that? You're looking at their vitals. What's happening to the body?
So interesting you asked that. They did studies actually on our our team a few years ago, and the doc of the team got curious about that exact question. And so they monitored their vital signs as they were flying the demonstration. And the funny thing that came about that research is they actually had better heart rates, blood pressures, you name it, when they were flying
Really?
than they did on the ground, like in the debriefing.
They just go zen.
It's yeah, they're so focused. That is, what they're meant to be doing at that time, and they're ready to go. Their bodies are trained to it. So it was a cool, kind of outcome and results that they showed a few years ago. But, yes, their muscles are working nonstop. Their brain is mentally working nonstop. Their emotions are also in play because you can't harp on that last maneuver you did if you maybe messed up a small bit of it. You can't keep thinking about that because you're already on to the next maneuver. You have to be 100% focused in on this maneuver that you're doing right now. So it's a full body process.
Speaking of those things, what's it like dealing with the pressure of putting on these shows, both in that they're, these are dangerous maneuvers with very small margin of error, and the Blue Angels are, in a sense, the face of Navy's aviation?
I mean, the pressure's there with every, kind of high visibility job, I would say, or profession. You're going to feel pressure. Um, and I would say the good thing about our team is we have been around since the 1946 when Admiral Chester Nimitz created this team. And we have learned from those who've come before us of how to mitigate risks and how to do this demonstration safely because we have lost aviators and aircrew in the past and we don't take that lightly. And the best way to honor them is to do it as safely as possible and show them that we've learned from them.
We know we have you for a precious few moments, so I want to ask just two more questions before
Yeah.
we let you go. One, what do you hope people take away from this film when they see the Blue Angels?
I would love if people walked out of the film just feeling inspired and feeling that confident that they can go after their dreams and give it their all because it's absolutely possible and just focus in on what you want to do, put in the hard work, and you're gonna pursue excellence and be great.
That's what I felt when I saw it, but also reminded me that I have people like Mitch who will point out all the things I did wrong, and it's to make me better. So I'm very appreciative for that. The final question, and we ask everyone this: if you had a walk-up song, and you are a rock star, so you would have a walk-up song, what would your walk-up song be?
Oh, I have to think about this for a second. This is a good question. I've never thought about this.
This is that pressure you were
Oh
talking
man.
about.
Yeah. Do I get multiple choice? Like what kind of vibe are we going with here?
Whatever tone
Oh,
you
let's
want to
think.
set.
Okay, I will be very personal here. Inner Sandman, because I went to Virginia
Nice.
Tech, and that is the absolute best football entrance in the world, and it still gets me riled up today. So, Inner Sandman for sure. Metallica.
I support that for you, and it does work to amp you up because when I was in middle school and we had roller skating parties, they had speed skate and they always played Inner Sandman during it, and you were so amped up.
Yeah.
So, well, Lieutenant Commander Dr. Monica Borza, thank you so much for joining us. If you want to hear more from Doc, you can check out The Blue Angels, which is showing in our OmniMax theater. And it's really an incredible film. It's an incredible experience. The sound, the visuals of it are incredible, and you got to see all those firsthand. So thank you for sharing some of that with us.
Yes, I am so honored to be here and incredibly glad to be here. So, thanks for taking the time.
Of
I
course.
hope you all enjoy it.
Thank you for listening to Meanwhile at the Museum. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. If you have questions, comments, or just want to tell how much you love the show, email us at meanwhile@cincymuseum.org. If you want to experience Cincinnati Museum Center yourself, visit cincymuseum.org for the latest reasons to visit. Thanks for listening.